I'm only going to make this video one time and you guys are going to get it raw. I'm not going to edit it, not going to do anything, mainly because I really just don't want to look at it back. I really don't. But this is worth addressing because there's a lot of sentiment right now over what just happened in the wee hours of the morning yesterday. And well, if you're my age, you're late 20s, even mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, this impacts you. This really does. In the wee morning of last night, the U.S. House passes $95 billion to Ukraine Israel aid package and sends it to Senate, which will most likely get passed. I could read this article, but the general gist is the House of Representatives, 495 representatives for the United States House, passed a bill worth $95 billion to give to Ukraine, to give to Israel, to fund their war efforts. Now, the reason why I started the video with saying that this impacts my generation, people who are mid-30s, is because we are all struggling right now. The country has insane inflation. There's a massive deficit. Infrastructure is failing. There's obvious geopolitical problems when it comes to the southern border. Yet, everybody in Congress right now, their priority is other countries somewhere else in the world that most people can't even find on the map. So it really is infuriating. And well, just wanted to talk about this because I feel as much as everybody that's probably watching this video right now. I really do. If you're my age, late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, even at this point, late 30s to early 40s, this impacts you because this is strictly making our lives so much more difficult. It's insane at this point. And I gotta give a shout out to, QE Infinity, where he pretty much, or she, I don't know, pretty much nails this on the head. So how does this pick from Congress make you feel? 70% of Americans were against sending more aid to Ukraine/Israel. We have raging inflation, deficits, and an aging infrastructure here. Personally, this infuriates me. Our government doesn't care about what we want. Sad. Now, I don't necessarily know about this specific statistic. That's not really the point, though, of this video. The point of this video is basically what he just says in that third point. We have raging inflation, deficits, and aging infrastructure. Our government doesn't care about us. The government's never cared about us, right? We're all tax cattle to them. That's really all we are. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And I get that people are upset. In regards to this picture, they're all waving Ukrainian flags in the United States. Now, whether or not you support Ukraine or not, it's not really the point. Whether or not you support Israel or not, that's not really the point of this specific video. It is the fact that the United States is not a utopia. We have major problems. And you got to fix your own house before you fix somebody else's house, right? You absolutely have to do that. And I do empathize. Well, I feel the exact same way that he feels, QE Infinity. I also want to show you guys this video as well, which also summarizes everything that I'm pretty much just saying in a really good way. Now, there is cursing in this video, so please bear in mind that this is not going to be family friendly, the video I'm about to show you all. But it is warranted that I must show you because, once again, it does reflect a lot of people's sentiment right now. This is coming from American Maniac on X. And it's going to play you guys the video. Here you go.
Like, this can't be real, right? I praise God every day that I live in the sticks and don't live in the fucking city where I have to see these people walking back to their cars or walking home. Your boy would be in jail. I have never seen the level of corruption and treason that we're seeing today. Quick story, my grandfather's 86 years old and he works every fucking day of his life as a parole officer. He still does it to this day. Before that, he was a state policeman. Before that, he served our country in the fucking Marines. If I bring up the country or the state of the country to that old man, or I try to ask him any advice on how we should feel about what's going on, the man can't talk about this country without tears coming out of his eyes. This is an absolute disgrace, and something needs done. It's really hard to put in words the rage that I have inside me when I fucking flip on the TV, turn on the radio, open an app, and I see that we're giving $60 billion to this fucking country for more money laundering for this proxy war. When me and you, American citizens, are limping through our lives right now just to make it, it's a sad time. It's a sad time to be an American. And for our children's future, I really feel for our children. It's gonna fucking hurt.
So, a few weeks ago, I made a video titled, Gen Z isn't lazy, Gen Z is demoralized. And how could you not be? How could you not be when you are told that we're going to prioritize other countries and other people instead of the people that are suffering here, right? And I gotta be completely honest with everybody. As a Christian, it is very hard to keep faith in times like this. It really, really is. That doesn't mean that I'm losing faith. I'm just saying this test that we're all going through right now, it's incredibly difficult to keep positive, knowing that all of this is supposed to happen, knowing that eventually everything will turn out for the better. It's very, very difficult to have that kind of mentality when things like this just happen, right? So I'm here to, I guess, say I do empathize with everybody that are pissed off, that are upset, that don't really have any positivity. Like, again, it's very, very difficult. And to anybody who responds to this video saying, oh, well, Gen Z is just lazy. No, Gen Z is not lazy. As I've said it before, Gen Z is just demoralized. Why in the world, and I'm speaking for myself mainly, and this is just thoughts that sometimes I have, but why in the world would I bother to get ahead in life? Why in the world would I do anything, have kids, have a house, if my money was just going to be thrown away, right? I'm being taxed to the point that we can't even afford anything. Inflation's coming back up, as I said it would happen. Everything is way too expensive. Housing is to the point that nobody can afford. The Post-Millennial put out an article a few weeks ago saying that in order to have a house or in order to afford a house, you need to make $110,000. Back then, and by back then I mean in the late 80s, 70s, 90s, you could easily afford a house with your basic income. Now you need to be making, let's just say $100,000 or more just to even own a house. No 25-year-old is having that kind of money, is making that kind of income. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's just not happening. So no, Gen Z is not lazy. Now there's some lazy people, of course. There's some lazy people even in the older generations too. But the problem is more demoralization. And the more stuff like this happens, it's going to get worse. It's going to 100% get worse. You wonder why my generation, Gen Z, millennials aren't buying homes. It's because what's the point, right? What's the point? Why we're not having kids? Well, why would you want to bring kids into a world like this? I'm not saying that I feel this way. I'm saying that these are thoughts that do come across my head. And as I said, it is hard to keep faith to see that everything was going to come out fine at the end of the tunnel. If it's hard for me, somebody of faith, I don't know how some of you who lack faith or just are very, very black-pilled overall, I don't know how some of you guys are able to handle this right now. But while I do have a lot to say about this whole current situation, I do have a solution, right? There's always going to be, guys, some light. There's always going to be some positivity. And I'm here to give it to all of you. Now, whether you choose to accept it, that's up to you. And I'm not saying that this is going to be easy, right? It's never easy. But actually, it's not even that it's going to be not easy, but it may be something that you may not even accomplish either. But you can at least plant the seed to hopefully save your kids and your grandkids. And that is, well, first of all, the one thing I really do want to promote here is, number one, I'm not going to tell anybody to do anything illegal. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm about, right? As a Christian, we're told to follow the laws of the government, right? Romans 13, one of my most controversial passages of scripture. So I'm not going to tell anybody to do anything illegal. Absolutely not. But I will do is to tell everybody, well, first of all, have kids, right? Have kids. I know it's very nihilistic at the current moment of the world and even just the country. It's everything looks very, very nihilistic. But the answer is not to have kids. The answer is to have kids, because the only ones that are going to save this is through generational progression to the other side. That's the first thing. The second thing would be to clean off as much debt as possible. Any student loan debt, any credit card debt, anything that will get you in deep, deep trouble when the crows come to roost. Highly suggest you get rid of that. And the last thing, which is going to be the hardest one, and you may not even see it, to use the system to your own advantage, right? Use the system to your own advantage. At the end of the day, the people that are passing these kinds of bills, they're the ones making the laws. They're the ones making the loopholes in those laws. And I'm not telling anybody to break the law. Not doing that at all. But what I am saying is learn the loopholes to try to shield yourself, protect yourself from these kinds of events. And I've said that here on the channel 1,000,001 times. And that is, you got to make more money, right? You have to make more money. However, you have to make money that is shielded from this kinds of situations. Obviously, you guys know that here on the channel, we do a lot of investing stuff. Mike mainly does, trades, charts and that kind of stuff. I mainly do fundamentals, and I have a discounted free cash flow calculator for everybody to have for free. But my goal for investing to begin with is to have a form of passive income through dividends where I don't have to work. Now, while that's great in and of itself, the real side effect of that is the fact that dividends, guys, are not taxed at the same rate as that of a normal income. So I'm going to show you guys one more time. Again, I show this every once in a while here on the channel because this is the crux of the channel to begin with, right? So what you're looking at right here, it is the 2024 tax bracket for normal income. Basically, if you work a 9-to-5 job, these are the tax rates that you pay. And you can see that this is a lot, right? It's insane to me that if you're single, you pay 10% of taxes. If you're single and you make between 0 and 11,600, you pay 10% of taxes, right? Married to the first $23,200, 10%. 24% if you're single from $100,526 to $191,950. If you're single, and if you're married, $201,051 to $384,000. 24%, guys. That amount is absolutely insane. And again, if you're most likely watching this, you are probably in this tax bracket over here. Actually, if you're married, you're most likely right here within this tax bracket. Actually, either this one or the 12 one, between the $94,301 to $201,050, or this one, the $23,201 to $94,300. If you're married. If you're single, then you're most likely in between right here. And in that situation, you're both paying 12 and 22% respectively in taxes. This is going to a job, 5 a.m. in the morning, work work your fingers to the bone, come home tired, eat leftovers, eat cold food, eat whatever, right? To just fall asleep, to then repeat the process 5 days a week, to have 2 days off, 2 weeks of vacation or 3 weeks of vacation. Maybe you can afford a gift here and there. Maybe you can afford to go to a restaurant here and there. But that is the rat race. This is the rat race right here. What I promote is this: dividends. Because dividends are the best form, at least what I see, to make passive income. And on top of that, it shields you from taxation to an extreme degree. And here's the answer. Basically, dividend tax rate for 2024. Guys, if you're filing single, to the first $47,000, you pay zero in taxes. At the federal level, by the way. I'm only looking at this at the federal level because what occurred happened at the federal level. So, to the first $47,000, if you're filing single, you pay zero. If you're married, to the first $94,000, you pay zero. Now, I don't necessarily know if $47,000 a year is able to sustain one person. I believe it is. But I can guarantee you for a fact that married filing jointly, $94,000, I'm fairly certain you are able to sustain two people with this kind of income, right? I mean, most households make if you have one income, most households make around actually a little bit less than $94,000. And if you are married together and you both have a dual income, you will make slightly above that at around like $110,000, maybe $120,000. But assuming that you're able to actually, survive within this kind of frame, you are paying 0% in taxes at the federal level in this situation. The same applies to that of single, again, up to the first $47,000. Now, these are strictly qualified dividends, right? So companies that are not real estate companies, like your Realty Incomes, your Crown Castles, American Tower, that kind of stuff. But this is a pretty sure way to shield yourself from this, because if you're paying zero taxes, this doesn't really affect you. Now, that does affect you when it comes to sales tax, property tax, etc., etc., etc. But at least when it comes to income, you're pretty much insulated from this. Now, most of you are saying, well, that's great. I don't have the money to invest right now to get this. And this is where I was saying before that this may be something that you don't even see. Because for most of you, most of you don't have $2.5 million in the bank account, which is essentially what you would need to make around $80,000 a year in dividends. And, technically that's not a lot. Most people make more of that in their lifetime, but then on top of that, all other expenses. So while I do understand that it is very, very difficult to come up with that money, again, this is where I was saying that if you worry about your kids' future, if you worry about your grandkids' future, you may be the one to make the sacrifice. And I know it's not fair, but you may have to be the one to make the sacrifice to start this. It may not be a house that you pass through generational wealth. It may be this. And it's sad because you may never see the fruits of your labor, but at least you will know that if you raise your kids correctly, to teach them about money, to teach them about, how taxes work, which the educational system purposefully doesn't do that. Your kids and grandkids may turn out good, may turn out fine, right? So to QE, to the guy that I showed in the video, this is a solution. And to anybody watching this, I really do hope that you find ways and means. Aside from this, obviously, there are others, but I really do hope that everybody takes care of themselves, gets out of debt, stop buying useless and superfluous things, and to start using the system to your own advantage, because all of us have that opportunity, every single one of us. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out, and we'll see you all next time.